What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another episode of Under the Radar. This week we're talking about 3 releases I didn't talk about from June 12th, or not June 12th, July 12th that is, and, well, here we are. It's a big weekend for underground stuff, but we're going to kick things off with Vanhelgd with Atropos, Doctrina? Or, yeah, I think that's how you say it. But anyway, so this came out on Dark Descent Records, and this is a Swedish death metal band, and, well, there are some tropes of classic Swedish death metal, like the HM2 tone is pretty apparent on here, but musically, it's kind of all over the place, musically. It feels like an all-encompassing death metal album. Like, the guitars sound dark and foreboding. The vocals kind of sound like a hybrid of Martin Van Drunen from Asphyx and Anders Strokerk from Necrophobic. So there's a tiny hint of blackened touches on this album. Tribal drums, like combination of high-end and low-end tremolo riffs, some lumbering grooves and double time to kind of give it a little bit of a bolt thrower stomp. But it's quite melodic, pretty much from top to bottom on this entire album. Occasionally you get blast beats, you'll even get some gallops. But for the most part, this album's all about doom and groove. And, like, the production's pretty raw, pretty gritty, and like I said, that guitar tone, the HM2 tone, is alive on here, but it sounds a little more dark than most modern Swedish death metal. So I would say musically, if you're a fan of bands like Asphyx, Bolt Thrower, Entombed, and Necrophobic, I'd say check this out. This was a pretty good one. I'm going to give this 3.5 out of 5. It's definitely worth listening to. But now moving on to the next album, that is Totengott with Beyond the Veil. This came out on Hammerhard Records, and this is a band from Spain, and, well, they got the name from a Celtic Frost song, and this band started as a Celtic Frost cover band, and then they began to write their own material, and, well, there's a lot of Celtic Frost on here, primarily monotheist, but there's also a lot of Triptychon worship on here, but yeah, they were described as blackened doom thrash. I'd say this is more death doom. I don't think there's really anything black metal at all about this album, and when it gets fast, it's more so like those crusty D beats, kind of like Celtic Frost and even Asphyx. Yeah, Asphyx is a pretty big comparison point on here, and I'm talking like recent Asphyx. But yeah, it's eerie, the guitar tone's heavy and crunchy. Like I said, you occasionally get some like D-beat stomps. The vocals are almost like Tom G. Warrior meets the frontman from Hooded Menace, I would say. But there's some occasional double time, and the lead work kind of goes from melody to shred to dive bombs. Very doomy. There's even some occasional low, clean vocals, and I think female vocals come up here and there. And also the bass tone. It's that typo negative fuzzy bass. And there's even moments on here where I thought, am I listening to typo negative? When it came to the riffs and the atmosphere, there's even like dark folk on here. It occasionally, like I said, touches on some thrash, but it's not enough. There's occasional triplet chugs on one track and even some like keyboards, organs, or what have you. Really, I don't really have anything really to complain about with this album at all. So if you're a fan of especially Celtic Frost, Triptychon, but also I would say like recent Asphyx and typo negative, I'd say give this a listen. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. I thought this was great. Almost like the lost Celtic Frost album we never got before Triptychon formed. But now that leaves us with one more, and that is Blood Feast with Infinite Evolution. This came out on Hell's Headbangers, so yeah, another Hell's Headbangers released this weekend. This is, of course, an underground New Jersey thrash metal band, even sometimes bordering on death thrash, but it's more or less just old school thrash metal from the 80s. And I've heard this band come up quite a bit over the years, but I've never really listened to them. This album is flat out fun, vicious, and aggressive. Very much like Slayer. I would say Slayer is like one of the big comparison bands to Blood Feast, I would say. The vocals are kind of like a punkier Zetrozusa. Like it's a little bit Exodus inspired, but the guitar tone, it's sinister. I mean, again, with it being an E flat, it's guaranteed to sound sinister and evil. Some awesome melodies that come up here, whether they be like casual melodies or evil melodies and evil harmonies that would feel directly in line with Slayer, and some cool shred on here as well. There's some awesome grooves. There's some classic heavy metal gallops, but done through like a Slayer filter. But yeah, it's like Slayer's the big band I thought of a lot when listening to this album. But I would say if you are a fan of bands like Slayer, but also Exodus, Possessed, and Demolition Hammer, I'd say give this a listen. This is one of the better thrash albums, like traditional thrash albums, I've heard this year. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 as well. Nothing more, nothing less. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? And of course, the albums will be in the description box for you guys to listen to. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.